Hey, it's been a good summer to start a business. New businesses are easily getting money from banks, and banks are easily giving money to new businesses. But Gold Coast Bank CEO Joe Perri, he's not getting too comfortable. He says that once new regulations come down, these good times are over. I mean, the clock is ticking on the good times they just started.
Absolutely. We've experienced small banks like Gold Coast Bank have been experiencing an increase in loan demands. Companies come in the summertime. We have a passion for lending. They want to borrow. They want to build inventory and expand their businesses. What happens at that point is they come to the small banks because we give them personal service and they have access to senior executives that they don't get from the larger banks. Even from a real estate point of view, what we have is increased borrowing for expansion of their warehouses, and we also have real estate investments going on.
So it's booming. Things are booming right now.
Things are good.
What are you afraid of?
Absolutely good. However, what happens is the constraints by the government as they begin to tighten the noose around the banks, because they're requiring higher capital ratios, they're requiring the banks to keep more cash, and what this does is it does not enable the banks to lend the money that they want to lend.
Isn't it so counterintuitive that a government would say to banks, hey, banks, you lend money, but also keep more money in the bank at the same time?
Absolutely. But you see, that's what the government has been doing for the past number of years. They speak out of both sides of their mouth. And they put the constraints on the bank, which constrains small business who want to grow and hire more people.
Do you feel as a small bank owner, CEO, that it's been unfair that you guys are paying for the sins of the big boys on Wall Street?
Absolutely. You look at where the lifeblood of the economy is. It's with the small banks. None of the small banks had big bailouts. None of the small banks had nearly the problems that the larger banks do. And we care more about the small businessman.
Well, what about the idea that we hear from so many experts that if it weren't for bailouts, the entire economy would have imploded? In other words, that guys like you, what you do is cute and it serves a purpose, but there's no way collectively all you small banks could step up and fill the breach if we were to let 2 or 3 of these big banks fall.
Absolutely not. Statistically, what you have is the small banks. If you take New York State, we do 90% of the small business lending in New York State.
90%?
90%, and we only hold about 40% of the assets. So that's totally wrong when it comes to the small banks.
So what's the deal then? Are these big guys just so politically connected? So it's, because we know guys go from Goldman Sachs to Washington, D.C., from J.P. Morgan to Washington, D.C., and back and forth, and it's just like they have this unholy alliance. It's them versus the world, and they get all of our money, the taxpayer money, that breaks. And then when there's time for punishment, a guy like you will suffer more than they will.
Absolutely. And
can we break that?
Charles, you hit the nail on the head. Right with the fact that they're more politically connected and they have more money to donate to campaigns. What really has to happen is the government has to see and take notice of the smaller community banks. And we've been trying to make that happen. But again, it's an uphill battle, and it's very, very difficult for us. But we are the lifeblood of lending in the country. And statistically, it can be proven.
No, listen, I know for a fact, and I think most of our viewers do, and we thank you for it. I hope you guys can get through all this Dodd-Frank nonsense and all this Basel III nonsense and keep this thing going, because it feels like we're finally getting a little bit of traction, and you should take a bow for that. You guys have done a great job.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You got it.
I appreciate it.